The story begins in the Jadi market in the country of Palavina. The news on TV reports that there was a shooting involving armed men whose car flipped over, killing several people, including a woman and her daughter. The police have identified a man named Nbai as the main suspect. At the same time, a guy named Kong is on the phone with his friend and asking, "Why are you late?" Suddenly, he realizes his friend is dead. He looks around and trying to figure out who's talking to him. Then a voice comes through the phone and asking, "Why did you kill my daughter?" Kong snaps back, "If you want to know why, follow me," and takes off. Nbai starts chasing him. Kong orders his men to kill the guy following him, but Nbai defeats them easily. He storms into the warehouse where Kong is hiding and confronts him and shouting, "Why did you kill my daughter? Why target my family?" Kong tries to save himself by offering his men a cash reward to kill Nbai, but it doesn't work. Nbai beats all of Kang's men and forces him to confess. Kong finally admits, "I was just paid to carry out my boss's orders." Nbai presses him further. "Is your boss in Hao Wei? Where can I find him?" Kong replies, "I don't know much about my boss, but I know his driver. He takes his daughter to school every day." Kong gives Nbai the address. Nbai grabs Kang's car keys and heads to the location. When he arrives, he watches from a distance as the driver discusses with the boss's daughter. He sneaks closer to her and slips a tracker into her bag without her noticing. The driver and the girl then go home and get ready to eat. Hao Wei tells his daughter to go change her clothes. After she leaves the room, Hao Wei's wife says, "There's a problem at the company. The police found drugs in one of our shipments. It seems some employees might be working with drug dealers." The driver, who's also in charge of security, he assures Hao Wei, "Don't worry, I'll handle it personally." Meanwhile, Nbai listens in on their conversation. When the daughter returns, they quickly change the subject. Hao Wei asks her, "What happened at school today?" She shrugs and says, "Nothing really happened." The father asks his daughter, "So why did the principal call me to complain about you?" His daughter replies, "Dad taught me to be brave and stand up for myself if anyone starts a fight with me." Her father responds, "But you went too far." The daughter snaps back, "I hate this place, I hate this school, and I want to go to my mother." She gets up and leaves the dinner table. Hao Wei gets upset and asks his wife to book a flight for the next day so their daughter can go stay with her mother. His wife says, "You need to focus on the company's problems." He replies, "Fine, I'll leave it all to you," and they head to the airport. Hao Wei tells his daughter to get into his car, but she refuses and hops into another vehicle instead. Meanwhile, the leader of the drug trafficking gang confronts Kong and saying, "You lost us $20 million. Kong defends himself and explaining, "A guy named Nbai beat all of us up and reported the drug shipment to the police." Kong promises, "I'll make up for the loss." The gang leader snaps, "Make up for it with your life," and orders his men to kill everyone involved. Nbai plants a bomb along the route where Hao Wei and his family are traveling, he planning to take them out as they pass through. But before they reach the area, another group ambushes them and kidnaps Hao Wei. Driver chases after them and determined to rescue his boss. He jumps into a truck, but one of the gang members fights him, beats him up, and throws him out of the truck. Meanwhile, the criminals are hunting down Hao Wei's daughter, but Nbai hits them with his car, and he shouts at the girl, "Follow me or die." She jumps into his car, and they escape together. In another part of the story, Kelly, the top drug lord, he takes a government official and his family hostage because the official publicly called him out as a drug dealer on TV and demanded a crackdown on drug traffickers. Kelly forces the official to use drugs, but he refuses, but he kills the official's wife and gives him an ultimatum. "Either you kill one of your children or I'll kill them both." The official hesitates, then grabs the gun to shoot his older son, but the gun is empty. Kelly laughs cruelly and kills the younger son and turns the older son into a drug addict. Finally, Hao Wei is brought before Kelly. He demands that Hao Wei merge other companies into his own and become a partner in the drug trade. But Hao Wei refuses and saying, "I won't get involved in the drug business and I'm not afraid of death." However, Kelly threatens him with the use of his daughter's life. Nbai takes the girl to his safe house. The girl looks at Nbai and says, "I know you, I saw you outside my school. You are the one who killed his wife and daughter." Nbai becomes enraged and shouts, "Shut up, your father killed my wife and daughter." The girl snaps back and say, "That's a lie. Why should I believe you?" Nbai replies, "If it weren't for me, you'd already be dead," and tells her to leave. The girl leaves and contacts her stepmother. Her godmother tells her, "Stay where you are. I'll come find you, and don't trust anyone, and no one can be trusted. The only person who knew your whereabouts was the driver." Then she hangs up. Some time passes, the girl spots a police car, and she flags them down and asks for help. The police put her in their car to take her back to her family, as at that time another patrol officer spots them and says, "Thank goodness the girl's been found. Let's report her recovery to the police station." But the cop suddenly shoots the patrol officer from behind, killing him. The girl panics and tries to run away, but the officer points his gun at her and says there's $1 million reward for finding you, and I'm not letting that slip through my fingers. Just then, Bai shows up, attacks the cop. He forces the officer to confess and asks, "Who set the reward?" The cop replies, "I don't know." The girl asks, "How did you find me?" The cop answers, "I traced your call from a payphone," and Bai takes the girl back to his hideout. Once there, she asks him, "How did you find me?" He shows her the tracker he'd planted in her bag earlier. The girl frowns and says, "You've had all this time to follow me. I don't know who to trust anymore. Only the driver and my stepmother knew where I was." She then offers Bai a partnership, but he looks at her and says, "Do you realize that once I find your father, I'm going to kill him?" She nods, "Yes, I know." And Bai asks, "So why do you want to work with me?" The girl replies, "My mother was killed because of drugs, and there's no way my father is a murderer." And Bai presses her, "How can you help me?" She answers, "My father fired some employees from his company for dealing drugs. They were recently released from prison and have started a gang of thieves." The girl takes Bai to their hideout and tells him, "There's information about these people on the manager's computer here. I'll distract them, and once they're occupied, you go in." They enter the location, and after searching the manager's computer, they find information about a person named Biddle Knot. They get the address from the manager. He warns them, "It's a dangerous place, Lisa Market. Even the police won't go there." They head to the Lisa Market. The girl tells Bai, "If they see you, they'll run away. They know me and won't bother me. Let me go in alone." And Bai refuses and saying, "It's too dangerous. I can't let you do that." The girl suggests that she go alone while Bai tracks her with the tracker. She approaches the drug dealers and tells them to take her to Biddle Knot, but the dealers intend to kill her. The girl quickly blurts out, "I'm Ing Hao-wei's daughter, and I'm worth $1 million." Hearing this, the dealers decide to take her to Biddle Knot. When they arrive, Biddle Knot asks the girl, "Why are you here?" She replies, "I've come to ask for your help." Biddle Knot snaps back, "Your father fired me and got me thrown in jail. Why I should help you." The girl offers him $2 million and explaining, "I'll pay you if you help me find my father." Biddle Knot hesitates, but then says, "Your father was kidnapped by Kelly, the kingpin of the drug trade. I can't fight him." The girl tries again, offering, "If you get me home safely, I'll give you $2 million. Biddle Knot smirks and replies, "I'm not letting you go. I'll extort money from your family and then hand you over to Kelly. You're like an ATM machine for me." The girl tries to escape, throwing the drugs on the table at them and grabbing a knife. Her actions anger Biddle Knot. He lunges at her and intending to cut off her hand. Just then, Bai arrives on a motorcycle, launching an attack on them and rescuing the girl. He interrogates Biddle Knot about Kelly's whereabouts. Biddle Knot reveals Kelly has a drug center outside the city where he's holding Ing Hao-wei, and only Uncle Jimmy, his trusted driver, can get in there. Meanwhile, all the members of the drug trafficking gang launch an attack on them, and Bai and the girl try to escape by a motorcycle, but the gang blocks their path. And Bai is forced to fight one of the gang's top fighters, and he defeats her in the intense battle, but gets injured in the process. The criminals regroup and come after the girl again. This time, the driver steps in and shooting the gang members and saving her. However, she, remembering her stepmother's warning, "Trust no one," the girl tries to run away from the driver. The driver catches up to her and say, "Why are you running away from me?" Suddenly, Bai attacks him, wrestles the gun away, and they escape together. On the way, Bai loses consciousness due to severe blood loss. The girl takes him to a veterinarian and threatening the vet to stitch up his wounds. Afterward, they leave and head to the Uncle Jimmy region and checking into a room at the old Jiati Hotel. Not long after, Uncle Jimmy and his men storm into the hotel, and Bai fights them all and defeating each one and finally faces Uncle Jimmy himself. After a fierce battle, Bai overpowers Uncle Jimmy and forces him to reveal the location of Kelly's drug distribution center. He answers, "It's deep in the forest near the Mi River." They're about to leave when suddenly a female member of the gang shows up again and attacks Bai. This time, Bai is defeated and the woman is about to kill him when the driver arrives just in time and shoots her dead. The driver takes them to his hideout, and Bai regains consciousness and immediately attacks the driver, but the girl steps in to calm him down. She says, "He's not our enemy, he's our ally." Still suspicious, Bai asks the driver, "How did you find us?" The driver explains, "When you went to the vet for treatment, you left traces that revealed your location. I used old employees from the company to track down a person named Biddle Knot, followed his trail, and eventually found you." And Bai then turns to the girl and says, "Let's go find your father." But she hesitates and replying, "This place is safe for you, should stay here." When Bai insists on going alone, the girl stops him and says, "No, the driver will save my father." And Bai becomes angry and tells the girl, "When I saved your life, you didn't object, but now you object. You use me to protect yourself." The girl replies, "I'm only worried about your safety." And Bai snaps back, "You're only thinking about your father." He continues with his voice heavy with emotion, "My wife worked for your father for 8 years when she decided to quit and return to her home country. Your father sent someone to kill her and our daughter because she knew about the drug trafficking in his company. Your father destroyed my family just to cover it up." The driver interjects, "It's impossible. Ing Hao would never do something like that. He himself lost his wife because of drugs and hates them with all his heart. And Bai declares, I've tracked down everyone involved in the murder of my wife and daughter, and I've traced it all back to Ing Hao. He shouts furiously, I'll kill him soon. At that moment, the driver strikes Bai on the head with the butt of his gun and knocking him unconscious. The driver then takes him back to the hideout and ties up his hands and feet. Suddenly, the girl's stepmother arrives at the hideout with her men, and she turns to the driver and says, why didn't you tell me you'd found Tintin? She tries to take the girl with her, but the girl protests, we have to find my father first. She tells her stepmother, there's a spy inside the company who killed Bai's family. That same person is using our company to traffic drugs. Before anything else can happen, the criminals' men suddenly raise their guns and detain both the girl and her stepmother, intending to hand them over to Kelly, the drug trafficker. They also prepare to kill the driver. But just then Bai regains consciousness and comes to his rescue. He saves him. Finally, Kelly manages to find Ing Hao's daughter and forces Ing Hao to sign the contract. One of Kelly's top men warns him, our problem isn't solved yet. The person who reported the drug shipment to the police was Bai, and he's been protecting the girl this whole time. We need to eliminate him. But Kelly ignores his word and brushing him off with an insult. Furious, the man kills Kelly and takes his place as the new leader. At that moment, Bai and the driver launch an attack on their hideout, taking down all of the gang members. Bai fights his way into the boss's room, but when he gets there, he finds himself surrounded by armed men. The new leader tosses him a gun and says, if you kill one of them, I'll let the other go free. But Bai is smarter than that. He quickly realizes the gun isn't loaded. The boss then tries to offer him a deal. Let's be friends, and Bai coldly replies, if you don't release them, I'll become your enemy. A fierce fight breaks out, and Bai ends up badly wounded. The gang leader sneers at him and says, do you want to know who killed your family? It was me. Upon hearing those words, Bai becomes enraged and attacks the gang leader with all his might and overpowering him. But the boss grabs the girl as a hostage. The girl bites his hand and manages to escape his grip. With all his strength, Bai delivers a final blow and killing the boss. After rescuing everyone, Ing Hao turns to Bai and says, I never harmed you or your family, and I've never been involved in the drug trade. And Bai replies, I believe you. And they leave the place, and Bai then sets out to confront the real culprit behind everything, the person responsible for ordering the murder of his wife and daughter. To his shock, it's none other than Ing Hao's own wife. She had ordered the hit because Bai's wife had discovered her secret ties with the drug trafficking gang. Ing Hao's wife begs for forgiveness and pleading with Bai to spare her life. But Bai coldly responds, my wife and daughter were good people that didn't deserve to die. He then turns on the gas and setting up a deadly trap. He tells her, you have 1 minute to ask for forgiveness. After that, this place will explode. With that, he walks away and leaving her to face the consequences. In this way, Bai finally avenges the deaths of his beloved wife and daughter.